Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Invitation to Puzzles, where we have a PhoenixAki Intro to Variant Sudoku puzzle, which is very appropriate for the Invitation to Puzzles series. Let's have a look at these German whispers. They've made several appearances on the channel before, and they will make many more appearances, I predict. So adjacent digits on a green line need to differ by at least 5. If this is a 1, this digit has to be at least a 6, for example. I'll say more in a second, but if you want to pause the video and try it yourself before I start coloring the grid and explaining why I'm coloring the grid maybe, then you can go ahead and click the link down in the description. But now, let's start coloring. So the key secret to German whispers is that when you differ by at least 5, it forces you to alternate between numbers less than 5 strictly and numbers greater than 5 strictly. And you can't even actually get to 5 at all because 5 isn't 5 away, or isn't at least 5 away from any other Sudoku digit. So actually, probably the digits most people are going to write in first in this grid are going to be these 5s. And for that reason, 5s get the distinction of being green. The reason why you have to alternate between low and high is if you're at a low number, like 1 or 2, say, and you add 5, which is the only way you can go, well, then you end up at a number that's at least 6. On the other hand, if you are at a number that's at least 6, you can't go up, so you can only go down, and then you end up with a number that's at most 4. And so that's why we have this sort of alternating pattern. Now, whenever you have a length 8 German whisper where everything sees itself, it is completely forced down to 2 possibilities. However, I'd encourage you not to try and memorize exactly what it looks like. I'd instead encourage you to think about the numbers 4 and 6. 4 and 6 are very interesting when it comes to German whispers, and that if you try and stick them in the middle of a German whispers, it ends badly. So if I try to put a 4 here, for instance, I get pushed into making both of these 9, and that's just not okay. If I try and put a 6 here, I get bullied into making both of these 1, and that's not okay either. So what that means is that when I actually look at this box, and I ask myself where 4 and 6 can go, well, they can't go any of these places, because if I put a 4 or a 6 in any of those places, it's going to obligate me to repeat a digit in the box, and I am not supposed to do that. So that actually gives me what in fancy talk is a 4-6 hidden pair, namely these are the 2 digits 4 and 6 can only go in these 2 cells, so this is a 4-6 hidden pair. However, very kindly, PhoenixAki has disambiguated it for us because that can't be the 6, because remember, 6 only goes next to 1. So that's the 4, that's the 6, and so that's the 1, and that's the 9. And so now we get to fill in the rest of these digits. I'll go ahead and I'll high-low color this line. It's possible the coloring isn't going to do anything for this entire puzzle, but I'm going to keep doing it anyway because I like to. So the question is, which of these is a 7? And maybe the way to think about that is that these 2 low digits are a 2-3 pair. And so this digit is next to a 2 and a 3. Well, the funny thing about a 7, specifically, is that 7 doesn't go next to 3. Even if 3 and 7 sound emotionally very far apart, ever since the breakup, they're still not at least 5 apart. They still keep in touch a little bit. And so I can't put a 7 here because it'll automatically be next to a 3. So I have to put the 7 there, which then kicks the 2 over there. And then we get the whole box filled in like that. Okay. We can do a similar thing down here, but here I don't know that it's resolved. But if you keep in mind, we filled this whole box in without really actually saying anything other than that these are 4, 6, 1, 9, and then 1, 9 are next to 3, 7, and then 3, 7 are next to 2, 8 in the middle. We can at least sort of fill in the same pattern down there. But I don't think that's what the setter wants me to do. I think what the setter wants me to do is ask myself where 4 and 6 go in column 2. Because 4 and 6, again, can only go next to 1 and 9 if they're on a whisper, but 1 and 9 are already present. So 4 and 6 are, again, a hidden pair here. And now I actually know what's left in the column. Namely, what's left in the column is, if I just write it in, it's 2, 3, and 8. And I know what order those have to go in because I better put the 8 in the middle because 2 and 3 can't go next to each other. So the 8 is in the middle, and then the 2, 3 go there, like that. And now that 8 sorts out this line and its disposition, which quite satisfyingly is backwards of the disposition of the other, because this one sort of like the lows get the corners, and the these get the sort of inside pieces. The kitty corners, if you will. And this goes over here. So we get all of that all filled in. Very nice. Okay. So that is all a good start. I could try and ask about 4 and 6 in this column. The 6 certainly is in one of these two cells, but I don't see a lot to do with that right away. What I do see is there's definitely a 3 on this line somewhere, just by Sudoku. And what digit does that 3 go with? Well, there's definitely a 9. But that's all there can be, because 3 is only 5 away from 8 and 9. And so if I tried to put a 3 in the middle, I'd need to put an 8-9 pair on the outside, which would break that 8. So the 3 is actually on the outside, which conveniently tells me how this line is dispossessed. And so these are a 1-3 pair sitting around a 9. It's a 1 that goes with it because that's the only other blue digit in the row. And now the whole reason I color is so that I can remember that there's always 4 blues, 4 oranges, and a green in every row, column, and box. And so when I've got 4 blues and a green, I know these remaining 2 are orange. So there are a 6-7 pair to finish off the row, and that's a 7 and that's a 6. You don't have to color it if you don't want to, but I find it's very useful, especially when you don't know exactly what's going on with a particular whisper puzzle. Okay. So what did that do? Well, one thing it did seems to be to place the 1 in this cell by Sudoku. Let's see. And it seems to have placed a 4 here by Sudoku. And so these are a 5 and a 9, actually, and I know the order. Very good constructing, making that work out that way. And so what did that do? One of those is a 2. Why do I care about that? Well, that's weird. Yeah, I can see now probably what happened here. So I'm guessing that what happened was that these got filled in as Phoenix was setting this puzzle as being 2, 3, and 8, and then Phoenix wanted to resolve it, so put the given 2 and 8 there. Anyway, the point is, the way I saw this, which was kind of absurd, and I don't encourage you, is that this is a 2-8 hidden pair. But that's probably not what a human is typically going to see. Anyway, that makes this a naked 3, though, once you see that connection. Okay. So these digits, then, are 7, 9, and 5. Sure are. What about these? Do I care about these at all? These are 2, 5... and 8. And these are 4, 6, and 7. All of which seem perfectly fine to go here. So it does tell me that this digit's always a 1 or a 9, kind of interestingly. Or really stretching the definition of interesting here. But it's certainly true. Okay, so now I think I probably need to actually contemplate what's happening over here in this column as regards 4s and 6s, because I think I've gotten basically chased into this column. I can't put a 6 on this line because it would go next to a 1, and the 1 is hanging out down here. So one of these two is a 6, which does mean one of those two is a 1. I don't know which one. Now, if I want to put a 4 in this column, it's either going to have to go there with a 9 there. And a 2 there, I guess. Or it's going to have to go here with a 9 there. I don't quite know what to do with that. Yeah, so if these are both low, that's a 9. If these are both high, that's a 2. And these are a 7, 9. It doesn't feel like what I'm supposed to be doing. No one of these is an 8. No one of these is the 5. Am I just supposed to write in that this digit's actually only a 4 or a 9? Is that what we're doing here? That might be what we're doing here. Or I might... Can I say anything meaningful about this row? Yeah, I can, actually. I know where 4 goes in this row. That's weird. If 4 is on this line, of course, it goes in one of those two cells, but that puts a 9 here and clashes with that. So the 4 is in one of these cells, except that one, as Sven tells us, sees a 4, and this one's in the middle of a line, so the 4 is actually just here. And given that that's the case, now when I ask where 4 goes, it does go with the 6 down here. Except as noted, that's not the 4 because it would put a 9 there. So actually, that's the 4 and the 6, and the 1 and the 9. And now, when I look up this column, there's only one blue left, so it has to go in the middle. Because if I put a blue on the ends, it comes with another blue, and I don't have one. So that is a 2, along with a 7 and a 9, just Sudoku logically. Okay, so now there's a 7 and a 9 on this line by Sudoku. If I look at the 7 and this 9 by Sudoku, they're both here, so they have to go there and there. And that's a blue. So this is a 7-9 pair. The only number that goes between 7 and 9 that isn't a 2 is a 1. And therefore, to finish off the row, that's a 3. Let's see. That seems to have looked over here and given us a 4 and a 6. There's a 3 here by Sudoku. Let's fill that in. Just by that 3 looking down and that 3 looking over. So let's see. The remaining digits here are a 5, a 7, and a 2. However, the 2 is there by Sudoku. Okay, that's the point I was supposed to see. So that's a 5, and that's a 7. So now that sorts out my 8, 2 over here, and my 9 over here. This is now high, being opposite a 2, and the only high digit available is 7, actually. So we can go ahead and get our green and our orange over here. That's all the oranges in this row. So these are blue. So that's orange. And we've previously noted this can only be a 1 by virtue of being next to a 6, 7. So there's a 3 and a 1. There's a 9 and a 7. See, I occasionally remember things that I said earlier. I know it never happens when I stream, so people think that maybe I never remember anything. What was I talking about? Okay. These are a 4, 6. So that's the 6 and the 4. Just by good old-fashioned Sudoku. So this sees every blue digit end of 5, so it's high, and therefore is a naked 8, which seems to make this a 2. This column is still missing a 3, which goes up there. Let's see. One of these is a 9, and it's that one. Makes that a 5. Makes that high and makes that a 5. Okay. This is high because it sees every blue in the column and 5 in the row. So that must be the 5 in the column. This is an 8 in particular. That's a 5. That is a 4 by Sudoku. I think it's the last 4 in the grid. So now these are both high, which now lets me finish off. That is low. That is high, and that is low. So I'm done with the coloring at least. This is a 6 and an 8, and a 6 and a 1, and a 2. Very lovely puzzle there to PhoenixAki. I quite enjoyed that. The way that it sort of talked about 4s and 6s going through the grid, going from here to here to here, and then eventually sort of bouncing back to eventually get back to here is very nice. This is a very well constructed puzzle. I loved that. Thanks to PhoenixAki for submitting this. Remember, you too can submit your introductory puzzles for variant Sudoku and other pencil puzzles. And that's all for today's episode. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.